Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ed. I think Dave almost introduced himself as me.
I am. I'm just going to
I.
introduce myself as both of us. Actually, I am all the nerds.
Yeah, you do a lion's share of the work here at Nerdarchy, so.
We are we are legion. No, I'm not going to be referring to myself in third person yet. Maybe it'll happen if I spend enough time in the feywild, of course. So we figure, Fey might be a fun topic for this evening to rap about with you fine nerds out there.
And, since we know that, Fae like to do tricks and, prank people, perhaps we could, segue into a little bit of knowledge of the real world for a moment.
Yeah, I don't know. My cholesterol. What? I'm sorry. I'm easily distracted. Squirrel.
So, if you happen to follow us on social media, you might, you may or may not have noticed some oddities over on the Nerdarchy Facebook page. Doesn't look like things are, going out the way they normally are, or on any kind of schedule, and some things seem a little off from what they normally are. So, take it away, Dave.
All right, yeah. So, some point late last night, or maybe not so late last night, I got booted from our Facebook page. Someone else is taking control of it, and Nerdarchy is no longer in control of the Facebook page. So, I am attempting to get that back from Facebook, but they have not been very fast to respond to the ticket support tickets I had put in. Although oddly enough, once I realized there was a problem, like I reset all my passwords and stuff for my personal Facebook stuff, including taking down our credit card, because it felt like that would be a bad thing to leave up. And we had a bill that was due that they tried billing just after, and they instantly responded to me then. So
They instantly responded to the payment side, but has not restored access to.
yes, or giving us steps or anything else. Yeah. So Doug says you still have a little bit of a robo voice. I will see. I will endeavor to see if we can't fix that a little bit.
So we'll
Um,
make a mention of it now, and we'll probably say it again for at the end for any latecomers that join us in the interim. But those pranks and issues aside, let's dive back into Fae and have a little bit of fun with this whole D&D topic.
sure. So it actually came up a lot in my last game. The Scarlet Sisterhood. Towards the end, basically the nemesis, the bad guys, the antagonists, if you will, were the Fae, and not only that, it was one of the characters' family members via marriage had connections to the Fae, but not particularly the nice side.
Mm.
So there might have been some sacrifices going on in order to kind of sustain their immortality, and deals were made with the Fae, deals that they broke and went back on, mind you.
Oh my!
So it added an extra level of intrigue into that game.
One of the things that I really dig about Fae is the fact that they have the ability to have far more power, but have no explicit desire. Like, I have to enact this power now. They've got the patience of immortality, and you've got the ability to be like, you know what? I'm going to use this as a high level, role playing encounter that you have no idea what direction it's going to go, because the players could say the absolutely wrong thing or the absolute best thing, and it could be like, well, here's your new villain, or here's your new ally.
Yeah, the Fae are quite fickle, and I think for me and you, we get a lot of our Fae from Dresden Files. Like we enjoy that lore, which is probably closer to more of fairy tales and folklore.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing to say that you couldn't take those aspects and pull them into D&D.
I mean, we technically do have access to, bargaining ideas with the Archfey Warlock. So there's already the concept of, making a deal with them and getting power for it.
Yeah, keep talking, Ted. I
Okay.
love the sound of your voice.
So if you're not familiar with the Dresden Files as much as Dave or I, they've got the Summer Court and the Evil and the Winter Court. Your good and your evil quote unquote fairies, but they're all bound by fairy law. They have a certain set of rules that they are expected to follow, but it is only to the utmost letter of the law and not a step farther. It's like I will bend and twist as much as I possibly can to, to do what I have to do, but not any further, and see what I can get away with. Very lawful evil kind of mechanic on both sides. But I find that makes fantastic NPCs to work with, and even the good side, like they still have no problem bringing down, nature's wrath upon somebody because they pissed them off. Good is relative in that regards. They're just like, hey, I care more about having things grow and appreciating beauty. Whereas the Winter Court, it's like, well, it's my job for the darker side. It's my job to worry about these aspects. So it's a lot of fun things that can be bent, twisted, manipulated, using Fey.
I thought I had some earbuds handy that I could plug in and maybe alleviate the Robo Ted voice. But I do not, unfortunately. Next week we will figure this out and get rid of Robo Ted. Unless you like Robo Ted, in that case we'll replace regular Ted with Robo Ted.
I don't know. Is Robo Ted anywhere near RoboCop or Robotech? I mean, there's a bunch of Robo options that are out there.
I'm not entirely sure. So I believe like fourth edition really introduced the Feywild and Shadowfell, which are kind of like transient planes where they, in the sense that they overlap the prime material plane, which is a lot of fun because you can take things that are familiar and known to your players and twist them a little bit or a lot as the case may be. And some places the veil between the two worlds is going to be a lot thinner than other places, so it leads to fun adventures. So I've definitely, I think you've done it as well, where you have done quick small jaunts over to the Feywild for an adventure or two.
I think I've done it in my main game that wrapped up, but I've also done it for a couple of one shots. I had them kind of head into the Feywild to like capture this rare fruit at the ideal time of maturation. So I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, we had an arc with hags, a covey of hags for a bit, and hey V, what's going on? And one of the things that they had to do was they had to travel to the spot where the hags were in the prime material plane in the Feywild in order to kind of like undo a ritual that they had done, in ages past. So, so I've done that, which only like kind of entrenched my players even further into Fey politics, because they also had a link to a Winter Fey, I'm gonna say vassal, but a vassal that reneged on their obligations, which is a big deal for the Fey. So one of the things that became a major plot line for them was, one, they were trying to break this curse, which turns out it wasn't a curse; it was more of a deal that was struck with Fey, and in order to do that, they had to bring the deal breaker to the Winter Queen, the Winter Lady, in the Feywild. One of the things that I kind of set up early in that game was their nemesis would never leave the city walls, and the reason why was because for whatever reason this particular Fey couldn't enter a city, so he was kind of imprisoned, in the city, and he was immortal. But anytime he left, he was in danger of the Winter Lady showing up and coming for his vengeance. So later on they kind of like struck a deal with the Winter Lady. If you bring me this person, I will get rid of this obligation that your family has, which is kind of like another thing too. Fae really don't see the difference between you and maybe someone else in your line.
And that offers in backstory elements that somebody doesn't even have to write. It's like, hey, I have this open-ended family that's there. You can be like, all right, do I have permission, or just take permission? I'm gonna play with this, and you can honestly have a lot of fun with it.
We've also done encounters. Like, I think that one of the very first encounters I did with them while they're going to the Feywild was the Fey party, right? And the danger there is, especially with that particular group, because they are so much into role playing and social encounters and exploration, they're all about it. And the problem is, therein lies a lot of traps with the Fae, accepting gifts from them, accepting offers with them. It could seem like a small thing to you, but then, all of a sudden, you're enslaved by the Fae.
So we got a question from Eric that's very on point. Says, how would you run an adventure with the Feywild as a normal world to the PCs, and the prime material as a hop for a little jaunt for adventure?
Well, I mean, there's one, brush up on your folklore, and you can either mix and match or pick the one that you like the most, and run with that. That's kind of interesting in the sense that the Feywild can be more whimsical, and that would be the normal, and then you would go over to the real world, and it's gonna be a lot darker and grimmer in comparison, or maybe even just mute it because everything is kind of mundane.
So I was kind of gonna go in the same regards. So I would start off with having a Fey attachment in some way, shape, or form for all your races. Fey paladins, Fey warlocks, eladrins, maybe forest gnomes, things that have longer lifespans that might be living here. But I mean, I would throw humans, dragonborns, halflings, out of the mix for your race options. And then as opposed to when you are describing things, oh, you're going into the Feywild, things are vibrant and colorful, and you're seeing colors that you haven't seen before. It would almost be like, hey, you're used to watching movies in high definition, and then you step over into the prime material, and it's like now we're watching like 16-bit or older style movies where like everything is just less quality, not as vibrant, and literally like half the color spectrum just seems to be missing for you as you're going here. It's drab and it's boring. So like you have to highlight those elements because that's the difference.
Well, also too, like even like things that you would normally smell good might smell bad to you there in the real world. Taking a bite of something, might be like eating ash to you because it's just bland and has no taste. It's all texture now because you're used to everything, like you said, kind of being in technicolor. And still, even in the Feywild too, there would definitely still be civilizations, cities, everything in the prime material, and you could either restrict races or make them just the super rare races, and come up with stories. They would have to come up with background as to why they are there in the Feywild, because I feel like there's almost real world versions of almost everything there to some extent or another.
No, I would allow stuff as long as you said, they came up with a good story. But I would say for the person who doesn't want to do any work these are your options. Is how I would play it.
So Benjamin wants to know, I know you've made videos for best race and class combinations, but I was wondering if you thought of the worst race and class combos.
I don't know if we go down that road.
It's super
Um,
specific.
it is super specific. And we've done things where we talk about unorthodox builds, things that seem fun and interesting. I don't know. I think we'd have to kind of talk in a workshop that off air, because the last thing we want to do is be like, oh, this is the worst, and have people feel offended or bothered. Be like, I love playing that combination. That's my favorite character that I'm playing right now, and have them be upset or alienated from the channel because we said it's the worst.
I wouldn't actually 100% say that, because we've definitely done that. We've done like the worst, what we thought were the worst subclasses, and that definitely annoyed people to no end.
True, but I mean that was like a specific, that. But I mean this is like tailoring down to this is a character build, and it's like we're gonna tell you that don't play this, and somebody's going to.
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is, too, we don't really believe in don't playing this anyway. You play whatever you want. That's fun. Like, we bash the Gish character all the time on the channel because generally if you can cast spells, hitting something with a sword is not a super awesome idea. But then someone will go through a litany of things if you do that makes it awesome. But it's like, yeah, but you have to, yeah, if you dedicate, all these resources to that thing, sure, you're going to be good at it. I mean, the Blade Singer is a great example. It's like, if I do this, this, and this, and that thing, while I Blade Sing, my armor class is amazing. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but, I mean, I built a War Wizard Dwarf and did the same thing without doing this, this, and this. It was just wear armor.
Right.
And, so there's tons of ways to get there. And not only that, we're just saying it's not optimal if all of your abilities are geared towards making you good at something that you're not, those classes aren't generally good at. Mechanically, they're probably not as good as those other classes.
That being said, you did play a Gish character for a 20th level game. You had a lot of fun with it. You were successful at it, but you certainly weren't the highest damage dealing person in the party. So play what you want. It goes back to what that is.
Essentially. Yeah, like that character was fun, and he felt like his niche was he was just hard to hit. But but
and he was.
But what happens is, like, when you do get hit, you get hit because it's because they're 20s. They're crits when you do get hit, and because you're heavily vested in wizard, that means you just don't have a lot of hit points. So those crits hurt so much more.
Yeah, you love pulling that, all right, I got a 32. I was like, nope, that didn't hit.
Good times were had by all. So to that question, that's super specific, and I don't think we would probably go down that road. Just because, one, it would be a really long video to be like, here's all the classes and races. But I think we kind of like in the series we're doing now, we kind of cover that a little bit in the sense that we sometimes mention, things that they're not really good at. So when we're doing the specific races, we'll pick, out their optimized classes and then some unexpected choices. But I think if you kind of drill down from there, you can kind of like figure out what they're not going to be good at.
Yeah, I like the fact that we do the unexpected. I think that adds another layer of fun to those particular videos. We were recorded Gnome today, so that'll eventually go up. We're trying to bounce back and forth between the player's handbook races and other stuff.
The rest. The rest. I know, like, next week we're slated to shoot the Goblinoids. We're going to just do them all together, even though they're not really sub-races per se.
Yeah, so we just break it down of okay, we got Goblin, we got Bugbear, and we got Hobgoblin.
See, Hal, did you ever do a video on the build for your Dwarf Wizard? I don't think so. I mean, we've done a lot of character builds, so it's hard to say. There's a good possibility. that we've done one similar.
I don't think we did a build on him, but we've talked about him quite a lot. It's something that we could do if you really wanted. I don't know if we do it exactly the same way that you did it, because there were some non-optimal choices that you took because we started at level 1.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing as well. Sorry, I'm looking at some tech things here too, and someone made a suggestion, and actually that might actually work.
So basically, because we started at level 1, he felt that it was more important to be a wizard. He started off being a wizard, which means when he multi-classed into fighter, he did not get heavy armor. So it was like, we could do it with any particular race because he didn't need the armor and weapons from the class if you're going to start off with fighter first. So it's something that we could certainly visit and do that character, and we just mock up an NPC for Uthengar. I think that could be fun.
So one, I'm curious, folks, if that helped what I just did, or if you noticed the difference at all. We could definitely do that. Also, next level 88. You guys going back to the D&D cartoon videos again? Yes, I think I'm going to try and get one up next week. We have another 3 of them that are filmed. And they just have to be edited, and they're ready to go. So we definitely are doing them. We just we just had some things that we put out beforehand. So it's funny. Like, I talk to other creators, and they're like, I don't know what to do videos about, and we're like, we don't have enough places or spots in order to get out all the videos we want to do in a week sometimes. I mean, sometimes we get a little dry. We go dry, and we're like, "What are we going to do a video about?" But for the most part, not too much.
So, like right now, we're recording 4 videos a week and releasing 3, trying to prep for the summer with us being gone for D&D in a castle, us going to Gen Con. These are time frames where we're not going to be filming for more than a week. So this is something that we have to have those intervals taken care of. So we're doing our homework ahead of time. But that being said, we are always looking for, hey, what can we latch on to as a series that you out there, the viewers, want to see, so that we can keep going back to, because that makes it easier for us to be like, okay, well, let's do this series, let's do this series. All right, what else are we going to work on? Because as Dave says, there's some creators out there like, I don't know what to talk about. Meanwhile, there's Nerdarchy sitting here with over 3,000 videos, and we're still moving along.
Yeah, right. Other people, they're like, "Shut up already! Why won't you stop talking about the D&D?" So Lewis W, in your Necromancer video, you forgot about the white that the Necromancer can make with Create Undead spell. Whites can have 12 zombies of their own. One, I'm not really sure which Necromancer video we made because we have a bunch of them. Like, I might have to go. I might go back through and just make a Necromancer playlist, and half of them will be us arguing with everyone about why Necromancers are evil. But yes, so yeah. Well, also too, like, you can actually have more than that too, because me and Ted just actually did a video on
another Necromancer video today.
Yeah, we did another video on Necromancer spells today, and we kind of forgot that every time you create a zombie with Finger of Death, that's a permanent zombie that you don't have to do anything to gain control of, so that's pretty cool.
So if you wind up going down that road, yes, you've absolutely got the possibility to, have this horde under your control. And if you're doing it as a player, follow all the rules. If you're doing it as an NPC, no one's going to check your math. No one's going to, go through and make sure you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's.
So there's a suggestion for, not so much a suggestion, but Jason, one of my favorite examples of feywild idea is for the David Bowie movie Labyrinth. I agree. I actually ran like a one-shot
many times
right around the time that David Bowie had passed away. and kind of went to the Goblin Kingdom as the adventure itself. So that was kind of cool. There was something else that I also wanted to address real fast. Oh, Dave, what's the picture behind you? From Femic 5. That is the Moss Hound. That is in a Nerdarchy product. It might actually be in several. I don't actually remember when that came out, but that was definitely a Patreon reward first, and then it became a product.
I'm certain if you ask Doug, he'll tell you.
Yeah, Doug probably would know better than I. So so I'm trying to keep the sound clean, but when Ted jumps in before I can mute myself, that's when you guys are gonna get Robo Ted. Scratch Paper Games, serious question. Do you guys know when you'll be releasing gameplay videos on another channel? I recall that there was talk about that. Someone also earlier asked about, the what they called the girl game, which was the Scarlet Sisterhood game. So we just haven't really figured it out. We've got so much going on that's kind of like a low priority in the long list of things. So we haven't really looked into that. And then the other thing is, we actually have a ton of footage that's filmed but it's all raw and it still has to be edited and rendered and what have you. So that's the long answer. The short answer is no, we haven't figured it out yet.
If you want my guess, I'm going to say like after Gen Con, when things have slowed down and we're past the summer, past the Kickstarter stuff, then maybe we'll have some time, maybe we'll have some energy. There's chances for us to talk on the long road to Gen Con, for us to kind of spitball some ideas and figure some things out. So I think that might be our a potential future idea.
Yeah, well, although I will say after the Kickstarter is done, if it kicks, we plan on having a kick anyway. I mean, we're not going in with the idea of it not kicking. So, after the Kickstarter, then we'll be making the thing. It's mostly made, but there's still going to be a lot of work to do with, like, art directing. I'm sure that's going to take a ton of my time. We just looked at one of the maps that from the cartographer we're going to use. Looks super awesome. Kim Van Doon is going to be doing the art, and we have some art from her already for it, which looks amazing. So, we're really excited about that. We've got Crystal Sully working on the cover, so that's all in the works right now. So July 8th, we're actually going to be launching the Kickstarter. So this summer between D&D Beyond, not D&D Beyond, D&D in the Castle, wrong D&D, D&D in the Castle, the Kickstarter, Gen Con is going to be super busy.
Yeah, won't be a whole lot of time to breathe, but I'm looking forward to all the positive things for Nerdarchy and the Nerdarchy community come this summer.
It's it's a little nerve wracking, because and stressful for us. But we're gonna get this thing out there, and it's I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And it's gonna be a good opportunity for us to grow that community.
Oh, I like this from Eric. You guys should release a book of good aligned NPCs like the Patreon rewards and name it the Friend Folio.
I totally didn't like. I saw a part of it, but I missed the friend part. That's an amazing idea, and what Eric is talking about. I don't know if it's in the store or not. I'm mixing up where everything is, but you can go check the Nerdarchy store. If it's in there, it'll be really easy to find, and that is Good Monsters. I think it is actually in the store, and that's kind of what he's referencing. We have the Friend or Foe that'll probably be going in there soon. We got Secrets of the Mage Vault. So Femic 5. Wait a second, you guys are doing a Kickstarter. Which one? What product? We're going to be doing. We're going to be doing our out of the box encounters, and Mike Gould is the writer on that. He's going to be the lead writer with us contributing some things here and there. But essentially, for a year, he put up encounters on the Nerdarchy website. Now we're going to be able to have that stuff all edited, laid out. We're going to put art to it. We're going to put maps to it. It's going to be, it's going to be an actual physical product, a physical book. We're teamed up with Arknight, and they're going to be doing the flat, clear plastic minis, so you'll have that option, as well as they're going to be doing their flat map packs as well that are all geared towards the the specific encounters. We've also reached out to some of our YouTuber friends that I'm sure you guys are going to be familiar with when we start dropping their names and the Kickstarter does launch for our stretch goals. So we're gonna get some help from some of those fine folk to throw in some encounters of their very own, which I'm very excited to see what some of those people come up with.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Super excited about what is going to be in there. We've been working on this off and on for quite some time. I know initially we were like, this is going to launch in this in 2018, and quarter by quarter throughout the year it kept getting pushed. As December rolled around, Dave and I are like, that's it. This is going to happen in January or February of 2019. We're making this happen. And no, here we are sitting at the tail end of April, when we're finally like, yes, it will be July 8th. This is going to happen. Super stoked, super excited to really, make this happen and be able to put a book on everybody's gaming shelf with that Nerdarchy end. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so yeah, that should be a lot of fun. There were some questions about character building. We've got Taurus. I'm making my mini bosses in my campaign. Folklore, mythical creatures. Any suggestions on creatures to add? Which are your favorite creatures from folklore and myths?
I think I would go with satyrs. Satyrs, you can have a lot of fun with. They're a cool folklore type thing. But as far as maybe my favorite, I've used red caps in a variety of different games, and I go with more the the dwarven idea of red caps as opposed to the more like thin elvish gnomish kind of type. I think that was more of inspired by the R.A. Salvatore books where the red caps were in there, that they were called prowries, the blood dwarves or what have you. But that's my take. That's my pick.
Yeah, the bloody caps is what they would call them.
Yes.
After they would murder people, they would soak their caps, and they were like berets, I think, essentially, and they would soak them in their victims' blood, and it gave them powers of regeneration and increased constitution. So yeah, that's really cool. I feel like since playing D&D for so long, I've gotten away from real world mythology and folklore and kind of replaced it with D&D. And when I build things, I'm probably more apt to pull something from pop culture than I am from actual folklore or myth. I don't know why, that it just amuses me to do so.
I know for me, I don't do a lot from mythology, but every once in a while I will pull. When I tend to do a holiday themed game, I will lean in somewhat heavily on some concept within whatever the most recent holiday. With Easter only being a couple of days ago, and me running a game today, and my most recent uh, game with you guys, I didn't touch Easter at all. But here I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a thing with a spring festival, and it's celebrating the birth of of spring. So they care about the flowers and the bright colors that are blooming. They care about that now's the time to start planting the new harvest. Now's the time for this. Now's the time for that. But focus on flowers and eggs as your symbology. And it was the kids game that I did this for, and they're running around chasing a couple dozen almirage that are, laying these, candied eggs, here and there, and townsfolk are all involved. So I had the whole entire battle map was like the middle of town, and the guy bringing in these, magical bunnies that were supposed to be returned to him at the end. It was supposed to be go to the center of town, have everybody congregate, but he hit a pothole, the thing broke, the bunnies jumped out, and started going crazy, and it's like, oh no, too soon, and everybody starts, getting in. So, everybody seemed to have a lot of fun with it. I took a little bit of inspiration from, last Easter that I had run for you guys, but there was no chaos storm involved in this one. There was no, dire bunnies of death that, would attack with necrotic energy from their horns. It was all like, cute and cuddly kind of stuff. And the only one that actually wound up attacking, there was, the one dwarf in the party. He shoulder tackled somebody out of the way and knocked him to the ground. And one of the bunnies did a cuddle attack against, one of the players, and it forced him to sit and pet the bunny.
I want to thank Michael Colby for the super chat. When you were talking about that, you're like eggs and themes, and now I'm like, it would not work for the game you were talking about because you have kids. But I'm like, that would be kind of funny because really, like a lot of that stuff is fertility, like bunnies and eggs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Is represented by fertility. So do a game where like it's a mystery to solve, but like everyone's pregnant for no reason, and they have to figure out what's going on. So we.
As I was, kind of putting, this adventure together, literally in between, when we stopped filming and when, the people showed up to game today, I'm like, I'm having fun with this whole concept. So like I'm reaching out to you guys in the chat. Would you have any interest for like us to put together like ideas for, holiday themed of like, hey, here's a handful of different little, ideas, thoughts, encounters geared around, specific holidays. Please let us know. And because I'm like, I've got 4 or 5 different ideas. Dave, you just mentioned another one. So I mean, we could put together, a cool little product, and try to start planning these things, to go out, for holidays where it's possible.
So the book of holiday themes, if you would, that might be something to explore. So Juxtaposed Stars had asked about making a mobile character. We've actually done quite a few. Like we used everything we could think of to kind of recreate the Flash in the game. So Tabaxi as a base race, or even any of the other races that get increased speed. I know Wood Elf is definitely one of them. I don't know if there's any others, but then you're going to be looking at Barbarian, Monk, for classes. Blade Singing can also offer you some extra movement. So that kind of works.
Obviously, you want to take the mobility feat.
Yeah, the mobility feat is going to help you move around the battlefield without, drawing those attacks of opportunities. Drunken Monk is amazing for getting around and not drawing attacks of opportunity. It's actually better than the mobile feat in a lot of regards. So there's definitely options. There's spells like Long Strider that's going to give you an extra 10 feet. And I don't think that's a concentration spell. So you're able to slap that on. It lasts an hour. So there's definitely a lot of things. Or if you want to go with flying, you could go with Aarakocra. John, is there Quicklings in 5e? Yes, they're one of my favorite monsters. I've wrecked some of my parties with Quicklings. I think their CR is like CR1-ish around there. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but the players were in the teens for their levels, and they're pretty much always invisible when they're moving, and they have so much movement it's ridiculous. And I was kind of a jerk because I hasted my Quicklings to use against the party. And so quicklings, I think, normally get 3 attacks. You haste them, they're going to get 4 attacks, and you're also adding to their ridiculous amount of movement. I think they're in Volo's Guide to Monsters, but they're definitely one of my favorites.
So I just want to point out this comment from John because I love this concept and I might want to steal it. But he's like, I had a satyr in the game uh, that I was running. It was transformed into a minotaur when he raged. His mother was a minotaur, so the rage ignited his mother's blood. So I love that idea that he's gonna grow in size. Maybe add on another set of horns. So he's got the curly horns and the forward jutting. Yeah, I'm digging that concept a lot there, John.
So, as far as adding, making this character for defeating magic users, you had mentioned the Mage Slayer, which is a really great feat for making you sticky and being annoying to spellcasters. And then really after that, the only thing you can really do is fight fire with fire, and that is to have spells where you can either dispel magic, you can counterspell. Silence is going to shut down any verbal components. Although, as me and Ted have recently discovered, there's plenty of options for spellcasting without using your words. Matter of fact, that video will be going up tomorrow. So there's definitely ways around doing it. Scratch paper games. I just used the quickening in my last Pathfinder game. Party had no idea what hit them. Great for random encounter. They are fun because, especially if you use them right, you're just using hit and run tactics, and until they figure out what's going on, the only thing and that's when they can actually do something. They either need range, or they have to set up a ready to action to attack it when it comes in, and it's invisible, so they're going to get disadvantage on that attack.
All right, so we got a comment here from Benjamin, but I don't know what world he's talking about. It says my group likes the idea of playing in the world of a new Yasha, and I was wondering what advice you would have to get me started. Are you familiar with that world, Dave?
I am that. That definitely sounds like an anime thing, and I kind of missed the boat when it comes to anime.
So I am very sorry, Benjamin, but I don't believe any of either of us have the ability to help you out. If Nate were here, he might be aware. He was more of our anime resident guy. For me, there's only a few anime or animated stuff that I got into, and even then, I didn't even get into all of it. So it's kind of a loss.
So I mean, really, it's just a matter of trying to dissect and figure out what the feel is or the theme of whatever your fandom is, right? And trying to insert that into your game. So, like, I guess we could give like generic advice. It's about finding. It's about finding the stuff that are similar. Elfbait mentions any of the old Oriental Adventure stuff or the newer stuff on the DM's Guild, so you get PDFs and start incorporating that. Obviously, the Shadow Monk could kind of represent your ninjas, as could your assassin for the rogue. There is a samurai. There is a samurai class or subclass, I should say, for fighter. So there's definitely some things in there that you could probably incorporate, and a lot of it might just be renaming and figuring out what is special about that world, and what theme do you have to capture in order for that game to feel like that thing.
That was kind of what I was going to say. Is you have to look at, well, what does that world mean? What does it bring to the table to be there? If you've got that idea and you've got the ability to port that into your D&D game, excuse me, then you are on the path to set that up. The next thing you do is you put them in a familiar setting that everyone who's seen that show or knows that world, that it's there. It's like, okay, oh, you want to play a Harry Potter game? Well, you know what? You're going to be in Diagon Alley or you're going to be in Hogwarts. That's just where you got to get to. The other thing is to then put characters that are well known, you know into your story. It could be, they're only made mention of. You have to find them. You get to talk to them, and as they're engaging with these characters, that everybody who watches this knows and loves or hates, depending on who you're using. You are now making it feel like this world. So I think that's where I would start without having any idea about what Unasha is.
Yeah, I feel like a big problem is when people want to do this kind of thing is they obsess over the mechanics. Where if you just focus on the role playing elements, if you on the social elements, the exploration elements of that campaign, I feel like that begins to flush it out a bit, and someone like made the reference or the remark that the size of the swords are insane in anime. Well, what if you just use the longsword and use the longsword stats, but describe it that way, or the great sword, you describe it like a cloudbuster sword, because you know what, everything in that world, if you think in terms of kind of like scale, that it's just kind of scaled to that world. So what would be a longsword in the normal world, it, in that world would be like the size of a short sword. But if you change everything, then it doesn't matter. Like it's just like reflavoring stuff. And if you describe it, especially from the side of the players, right, and you're rolling damage or whatever, I don't think they're going to be like, oh well, that's the wrong damage for that sword because you only rolled a die 8 or a die 10. I just don't think people are going to focus on that.
I would agree, Dave. I think theme definitely has to be the where you go, and mechanics is only how things unfold for combat and resolution for when you've got to go to dice. I don't think any of that should really make a difference to setting a theme.
And then if you look at how a lot of the NPCs are done in 5e, from before Dragon Heist to Curse of Strahd, they actually reflavor them and build them like monsters. So you could easily do that in your games, so that like you could literally capture those aspects if you wanted to from from your NPCs. Because I'm also guessing like that kind of game you're probably going to be fighting more NPCs than you are maybe monsters as well.
Now he's got a comment in here that there's it's pretty much overrun with demons and half demons and what have you. And kind of saw it there a moment ago. Um,
But so
Here, here it goes.
in that case, like, what if you take chain devils and reskin them, but instead of them being chains, they're just like super long swords, or almost like, what is the character? I don't even know the name of the fighting character game, but I always see the character cosplayed with the like the chain sword. So you could do something along those lines and just describe them differently. I mean, even kind of going back to when I was talking about the Goblin Kingdom game I ran, the Goblin King, I used the Chain Devil, and instead of it being chains, there were silks. So the party was being cut up by silks that were all over the room, and they would just like lash out and slash at them or try and entangle them.
Reflavoring stuff is always a spectacular way of describing an encounter and having the players have no clue what's going on. I love doing it. I love taking a stat block and be like, you know what, I'm changing this. You, I'll describe it however I feel like, but in the end, it's going to be whatever whatever it is.
Yeah. So for anyone that wasn't here earlier when we were talking about it, you're gonna notice that there's not going to be much activity on the Nerdarchy Facebook page, or there might be weird activity. We're not entirely sure which way it's going to go yet, but I am the owner of that page in particular, and I was booted off that page, so it has been 100% hijacked, and I am trying to get it back from Facebook. Also, if anyone actually knows like the best ways to interact with Facebook in order to get them to do stuff, I'm more than interested on hearing that and getting some feedback. So just so you know, if weird posts begin showing up over there, it's not us. It's we don't know who. It's some mysterious villain.
So we're trying to get that corrected, and in the interim, we apologize if use Nerdarchy's amusing memes that Dave puts out there to improve your day. Don't blame us. Blame whoever decided to give us a bad day by hacking into Dave's personal feed, Dave's personal Facebook, and the Nerdarchy Facebook page.
Blame evil. Blame evil. It was evil doers everywhere. In this case, in Nerdarchy, it's probably the Russians, but we don't know. So I mean, we'll get that straightened away. It's just a matter of time. We're also going to have to get straightened away the Robo Ted effect, which we'll have to come up with something better than me keep muting myself when he talks. I probably just need to go back to when I used to stream for the Scarlet Sisterhood, and I would have to do this weird thing where I'd have to mute everything and just use earbuds, which I don't know why. I think it might pick. I think my mic might pick up when Ted's talking, and that's why you get the reverb on him. But tech issues, eventually we'll figure it out. Also, one of the reasons why we're not doing a lot of live stream gaming because we're not that good at it, but we're getting better.
So if you happen to be following, the game that I'm in on Thursday nights, the mini terrain domain with GM Jake, down in the description below are the 3 latest episodes that have been posted to YouTube. Jake's had a lot going on as he's getting ready for Jasper's game day / game week. So he's been trying to set up a lot of things for that, and he therefore has not been taking the stuff off of Twitch and porting it over to YouTube. So if you're not watching us live on Twitch or shortly thereafter, they are now available over on YouTube.
I guess, also, speaking of which, I will be running a game over there as well. Valhalla awaits, so that should be a lot of fun. V was in the chat. She's on that game as well. That's going on next month. As we get closer, we'll start sharing out the dates so everyone knows. So if you want to go check that out, you'll be able to. That should be a lot of fun. I think the tough thing there is going to be, I think it's a really short game, like 2 hours. But that should be a lot of fun. Ted is doing a great job. Ted always does a great job. That a boy, Ted.
What am I doing a great job
at? Maybe in the game. I'm gonna go with.
Okay. I love the hell out of that game. They are an amazing group to play with, and it is so easy to to role play with them. Last Thursday was hysterical because the entire session was basically 2.5 to 3 hours of role playing. So utterly ridiculous. Um, but some more dates coming up. Obviously, this Thursday is going to be another mini terrain domain with the Dawnbringers. Friday is going to be a one shot for the world of Revelo creature curations, and our real first exposure to that world, which I am super stoked about. Just trying to get some last pieces together for that game coming up next month. If you happen to be in and around central Jersey, and you happen to like going to conventions and do like steampunky type stuff, it's no longer the Steampunk World's Fair, but it's called COGS. I'll try to get some information, and when we can get access to social media again. But you can look for me there. I am planning to go. You can look for my Nerdarchy armor with the big N emblazoned upon my chest. If you happen to be going, feel free to reach out to us and let me know of who I should be on the lookout for.
And remember the rules. If you see Ted, tackle him with love.
No, do not tackle me with love. Do not challenge me to sword work. But absolutely come and talk to me and shake my hand and say hi.
Actually, this Saturday there's a comic book fair or small Comic Con 1-day thing in at Rutgers here in Camden, and the fine folks from Eye of the Beholder are going to be there, which are friends of ours. So I think I'm going to check that out Saturday, and go hang out. It's fairly close.
I saw that you had made mention of that, and I'm still up in the air as to whether or not I might be joining you.
So Eric, isn't there a con in NJ this weekend? Geek Fest just happened before Easter. I don't know if there's anything else coming up. There might be, but there's a lot of New Jersey to cover. Like I said, there is the 1 day thing that's going on this coming Saturday, and I know the Eye of the Beholder folks will be there, which they're always cool to hang out with. So I figure I'll go check it out. I think it's free too. Like I don't think there's a I think they've got free parking in some places, and I don't think there's a fee to get in either. Not that that's a big deal, but I guess it's kind of cool. So I will be out and about there. Ted will be steampunking soon.
Yeah, so look up cogs if May 17th to the 19th. I'm looking forward to that.
Are they still going to be having the card? What is it? Card cornea card something?
Concardia. I don't know. There has been a change in leadership. I'm not going to go into more detail on that on the public stream. But I have to go and see like what's changed, if anything. According to the wife who actually performs at these conventions, she's like, most of it is going to be the same. Some of the people who essentially took over the leadership from the former guy, it's those people. So like a lot of the vendors, a lot of the performers are going to wind up being the same. But until I actually go and see what it's like, I really don't know whether the Concardia people are still going. I know I look forward to certain performers and certain vendors that I kind of build a relationship over the many years of going to this thing.
If only there was a place we could go and just look up that thing and see if they're listed as have it listed as an event they're doing.
I mean, there's definitely a way to do that. I mean, their Concardia, their website, they tend to be a little slow on updating there. But if we looked at I don't know if it's Cogs or Cogs World Fair or whatnot. I'm just I'm the tag along for this one, so I don't have any specifics as to to that.
So the question was asked. All right, Taurus. There you go. Oh, what would be a good one-on-one one-shot that I can introduce my brother to D&D with? And someone did also kind of mention this a little bit further down. Is it might be a better idea to find other people that are new to the game and have them play as well? Because I think like while you can play one-on-one, I feel like you're missing a big part of the experience, which is the camaraderie of hanging out with a group of nerds and doing silly voices and rolling funny shaped dice and being murder herbos or whatever it is you want to do. So finding maybe two more players to actually introduce them with would give them more of the full experience. And not only that, it is a little bit easier if you have other experienced players at the table that can help. Or if you have a bunch of people that are new, you could all kind of learn together. Babidi had asked a question about for the patron games. What do you need? Do you have to have a webcam? No, we don't stream them anymore. We just kind of hang out with you folks and play the game. So as long as you have audio, we can make it work. Ted has even made it work without audio, which is a whole thing that he can get into.
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, I ran one of my last fan games. I was a gentleman who was like, look, I've just had throat surgery. I'm in recovery. I can't talk, and I found that many people have like railed hard against people who don't have the ability to speak, and it's like, no, we can't find a spot for you in our games. Go away. And like I felt embarrassed to be a part of the hobby when people are treating someone like that. I'm like, no, you want to be in the game, you got it. And like, no offense to anyone else I've gamed with, but as far as one shots go, it was the best one shot I've ever had. I had 3 players in the game because I had 4 lined up, one wasn't able to make it, and it didn't go as planned, and it was amazing. And he typed in the Zoom chat, I read it out, oh, this is coming from this character. Nobody had any complaints. Everybody had fun. Made it work.
I would say too, even at like at a in person game, and maybe even stream games as well. Not necessarily stream, but online games. You could definitely also with a bigger table maybe have someone help as well, like a helper, so that as the DM you don't have to split your focus as much. So I agree. Like I'm open to having whoever in my game and just working around whatever the thing is. I've also heard people get annoyed with different disabilities and stuff like that, and I'm just calling BS on that for sure. Now I don't necessarily like them as characters in the game because to me it's kind of weird, but like people want to play. They want to play like these tropes where you're playing the blind monk or something, but they don't actually want the disadvantages. Like no one would really choose to be blind. It's just a condition that some people have to deal with. So I say yes to disabled players at the table. Not so much thrilled about them in the game. I don't know. Like I guess it's a weird place. Like we had Jen Kretschmer on before, and several other people who talked about that specific topic of introducing those kind of characters into the game, and I just find it tricky. Like to me, it doesn't seem like those people would choose an adventuring life because it's extra difficult.
So, like, if you want to do the okay, well, my character's blind, but he sees a different way, and you want to just I'm blind, but not have any mechanical differences. Okay, sure, claim you're blind all you like. I don't care. But if you want to be like, well, I want this to happen, and I want to deal with these positives and these negatives. No, I don't want to play that game. I'm the DM. I don't want you to make my job harder than it has to be because you want to have a bizarre concept, or as Dave says, a trope.
Yeah, and also too like those I I would hate to see those things like inadvertently disrespected in the game as well. So that I mean, and that's another part of it, So that might make me also a little bit uncomfortable about being able to address them and giving them the gravitas that they deserve. Or otherwise, it's like you're playing this character that is disabled, but not really. Like if you look at Daredevil, sure he's disabled, but he's got all these other things that compensate for that. So it's not. So he doesn't really have to deal with it. Now we are at just past 9 o'clock, and I think we actually started pretty much on time today. So I think that's gonna basically be a wrap. But we'll be back Monday for the patrons. We got our video going up tomorrow. It's gonna be about spellcasting and only using somatic components. So you guys kind of get a sneak preview about that. And we'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be live again. Eventually, we're also probably going to be bringing on some guests. So it'll be me, Ted, and whoever we can wrangle into this thing that we're doing. So with that, until next time, stay nerdy.
Very nerdy.